I'm Nicole Killoran. I'm the director of the Vermont Small Business Law Center at Vermont Law and Graduate School. Hopefully what happens if you can't pay a debt, you can work out an agreement with the person who says you owe the debt. But there's a couple of different things that can happen for an unpaid debt. There's a difference between what we call unsecured and secured debt. Unsecured debt is basically loans. It's basically loans and credit cards. So any money that someone borrows or that someone takes out on credit, and there's nothing that is securing that debt. There's nothing that the person is offering to say, okay, I'm going to take this money, but you can have this in the event that I don't pay. That is an unsecured debt. So think credit cards, bank loans, personal loans, things like that. Paycheck loans, hope nobody takes those out, but I know people have to. That's unsecured debt. Secured debt is debt that is secured by some sort of an object or a piece of property. Think about a mortgage on a home. Mortgage is simply the bank saying, I will pay for you to own this. I will pay for you to buy this home. But in exchange, you're going to give me something on your property that says that if you don't pay this debt, I get the property. That's a secured debt. The difference between unsecured and secured debt is basically in how it's collected. Unsecured debt is straight collection. So if unsecured debt goes bad, that means there could be collection calls, there could be possibly report to one's credit report, to the credit bureaus rather. There could be a lawsuit that attempts to collect the debt and possibly a judgment that comes out at the end of a lawsuit that says that somebody owes money. That's unsecured. Secured debt goes a little bit differently. Secured debt, say somebody takes a vehicle loan out and they can't pay on the loan anymore. The thing that secured the thing needs to be dealt with first. So the vehicle's repossessed in those circumstances. The loan was secured by the vehicle. That's the valuable object that made the bank comfortable in lending the money to the person. And that valuable object is going to come right back to the bank if the person stops paying. That's typically how it happens with things like vehicles, equipment. When it comes to property, though, there's a special process that people have to go through. If they have a lien or a mortgage on property and there's non-payment on the loan, they have to actually go through a court case to get permission from the court to open it up for redemption, to allow the owner to have one last chance to pay. So it's like a year-long process before there's actually sale of the asset. That is another part about secured debt, is that when someone has a secured debt and the security is taken, say the vehicle is taken, that is sold, whatever is gained from that sale is applied to the debt, and then whatever's left over of the debt is still owed by the debtor. So that's the difference between sort of unsecured and secured debt collections. It can be kind of scary. There is also the possibility if somebody has a debt that they need to enforce, they can bring it in small claims court, which is usually pretty easy. That's a $5,000 limit, but it is also much simpler process. There's no real strict formal rules. It's easier to collect a debt that way, and people usually represent themselves in small claims court. If someone has a bigger claim or a bigger debt that they need to collect, they can take it to Superior Court. It's a little more complicated. It's a little less DIY friendly. Really could use an attorney's support in Superior Court, but that's generally where those debts go. Just so folks know, if there is a lawsuit to collect a debt, the end result of that lawsuit is usually a judgment that says how much is owed. And there's ways to collect that judgment. That's good to know on either side. You know, somebody who has a debt, who has a judgment, can go out and do a bank garnishment. If they know where the person banks, they can put a freeze on their account, take whatever's in the account to pay the debt. They can do a wage garnishment if they know where they work and take up to 25% of their wages each paycheck. They can actually do what's called a till tap for somebody who has an actual register. They can get an order from the court that says, sheriff, walk in and take all the money out of the till to pay this debt. So not great on the other side of having a debt like that, but good for folks to know that this is just sort of what happens if there is a debt and there's a judgment. A couple of suggestions when it comes to debts. It's possible to protect assets. It's possible to put assets such as someone's home into someone else's name. That's one way that folks do it. I don't recommend that you do that immediately before filing bankruptcy, because that's called a preferential transfer and it can be reversed.